Welcome to another episode of Trap Talk. Today we have the pleasure of interviewing the Bartholow brothers. Also, we have our co-host, Richard Marshall Jr. Welcome to the show, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, guys.
Ricky, could you do the pleasure of introducing our guest, please?
Absolutely. So today we have Matt and Foster Bartholow from Rapid City, South Dakota. So I've known these two for, I guess, since they probably started shooting. And they've burst onto the scene, and they're a rebel to be dealt with. You know, I've shot with Matt. Foster, I don't think we've shot any registered shoots together. Shoot-offs.
Shoot-offs. Yeah.
But Foster won the 2008 Clay Target co-champion with my good buddy, Leo Harrison III. So that was a week-long shoot-off event for Foster with Leo, and that's how they determine, champions. I think the ATA was afraid they were going to lose money on all the shoot-off targets. And then Matt, he won the 2011, the 2021, and 2022 doubles championships. So Matt is a demon on the double side for sure, but also in all the events. So welcome to the show, guys.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Yep. Yeah, it's exciting to have people of your caliber. Normally we might have one person of your caliber, but to have two people of that caliber on the show is amazing. So we appreciate your time. That being said, the question that we want to ask, as brothers, did you guys both start shooting at the same time? Was there one that started earlier than the other? And kind of just give us your journey, and it doesn't matter which one of you goes first, but we'd love to hear from both of you.
Yeah, I started when I was in 7th grade. Foster's 2 years older than me, so he was in 9th grade. We did start at the same time. We found a flyer at our school saying, there's a 5-week, not hunter safety course, but like intro to trap shooting, basically. So we went out, and after the second week, I think we were hooked, and, begging our parents to get us trap guns and the vests, everything. So, it kind of exploded from there. We quit all the other sports that we were in and, just fell in love with it.
Now, Foster, how long? So you were in 9th grade and Matt was in 7th. So does that mean Matt's got a little more experience than you do now, I guess, or what? I mean, I don't.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Like Zach said, we usually have one person on here that's, a good shot or whatever, but we got two, All-Americans. Matt, you were a 7-time All-American currently, and Foster, you're a 3-time All-American, and multiple world champion on Matt's side. Foster, you won this Clay Target, which I've yet to win. I've been runner-up like 5 times in the dang thing, but to have you both in the same bloodline, but now people don't realize this. Your dad, Bud, was a professional pitcher, correct?
Yep. Yeah, yes. He was with Philadelphia, I think, for a while, and yeah, he could he could throw them hard. We learned that growing up.
A few whoopings with that hand, Matt, is what you're telling me.
He taught us how to pitch, and man, we we could toss them hard too. But yeah, I mean, when he wanted to, he'd throw one in there, and it every once in a while it would hurt to catch it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So in South Dakota, is the youth programs, are they pretty big? Are they small? What do you think?
They're small but growing.
Okay.
It's definitely not like a Minnesota or a Nebraska or a Kentucky, but it's finally getting a foothold in the public schools out here a little bit. It was in private schools for a while, but it's finally getting into those public schools, mostly the smaller ones, but a couple of bigger schools are coming around too.
Do you guys have any effect on that? Do you help out on the youth stuff at all, or?
We try to. Every year we do a huge youth clinic for free. We've done it in Pierre, our state capital, the past few years. I don't know how many kids do you think we've had there, Foster?
I'd say, starting off probably 150 to 300 kids, parents, coaches, but or it's been probably I think last year was 260 kids.
Yeah.
not including parents and
Parents.
coaches.
So you're,
Yeah.
you're over
So-
500-600 people at your free clinic.
Yep. So I mean, it's a big clinic, and we try and help as much as we can, and it's great to we invite anyone from our state to be able to come. Other states, if they want to make the drive, they certainly can too. But yeah, we
So
try to give back where we can and kind of promote the sport, just because it's so
Yeah.
good to get these kids into it.
Yeah.
But
No,
just
definitely.
gotta work with the schools a little bit.
Well, can I send Zach up? He needs to listen. So
You might need to book 2 for him.
And then doubles and singles, and then I'll
Yeah.
I'll just go around the world. So we appreciate you guys doing that. I mean, that's a huge give back to the sport. I've actually met some of the kids that have said they've done the class with you and how they learned so much from you guys, and it's a wealth of knowledge. And I mean, to do that for free, I mean, I don't know many people that are doing that. So that's a big thank you to the sport of trap shooting, to every one of our listeners. So we appreciate it.
Yeah, well,
and we
thank
can
you.
definitely get the info for your class and post it too. You might get a little more than what you bargained for, but everybody, and it's good to see that. I mean, I know I do a lot of stuff in Nebraska with the youth program stuff, with our state shoot, getting sponsors and giving back, and just the look on some of these kids' face when they win something, let alone it might be a door prize, or they go out and they got a question and I'm there and I answer questions. And I know I've seen you guys interact with the kids. You do the stuff at the Grand like I do with the classes, and it really puts a smile on these kids' face that normally sometimes people just don't give them the time of day.
Absolutely.
And I always look back and say, I was that kid that was walking around watching Theo shoot, watching Frank Hoppy shoot. And I'd ask a question and they would, oh yeah. And I'm like, and then today someone asked me, and people would go, why do you take time to do that? And I'm like, we all put our pants on the same way.
You make
Right.
time.
Yeah.
You make time. And I think all of us were one of those kids at one point in time. I probably still am. But, it's just one of those things. But that being said, going back to what you said about your father being a professional pitcher, how much do you guys think your genes, hand-eye coordination comes into your guys' game? Were you naturals at it, or was it something that you just worked at a ton and built it to what it is?
So basically 2 different stories here. Foster is a natural at just anything he does when it comes to shooting. He can shoot rifles, pistols. He can shoot a shotgun left-handed, sporting clays, skeet, anything. I focus on trap, and that's it for me. Like, I go hunting once trap season's over, but it's just a lot of work just for me to do trap. So I'm not saying Foster doesn't work hard at all, but he was a natural from the beginning. I think he shot a 25 straight on his second or third night shooting, where it took me like a year to do it. And, so it was chasing him for a while. The genes are there. The hand-eye coordination is there, but, it took me a lot of, dedication to get there, but, also watching Foster be able to just go out and do it is pretty cool too.
Yes.
Yeah.
What Matt's really saying is I had a good opportunity to beat him right away, and then he got really good, and now it's a lot tougher. A lot tougher.
Foster had that right off the bat success.
Mhm.
And then you were like looking at it from the other end, saying, well, I don't want my brother to beat me. And you put that work in. So, so Foster, what is your style? I mean, are you a high hold point, low hold point? What are you working on? And what are the things that you're doing to get you in the zone and to run, obviously over 1,000 clays and be the co-champion of the clay target, which in my opinion, I think that's probably one of the hardest trophies, if not the hardest trophy to win in the United States.
Well, I would say they're all equally, they all have their own difficulties, right, of accomplishing, and coming home with the ring is a huge honor. Doesn't matter if it's singles, doubles, or handicap. But you brought up a really good point of the dedication and what it takes to become an elite shooter at the top of your game. Matt and I have 2 completely different styles, and we talked about this a lot. Like, I'm a 1-eyed shooter. Matt's a 2-eyed shooter. If we talk about doubles, I shoot it backwards compared to most people. He's a normal human being. So there's a lot of different styles. And I really have to commend Matt of how he put in the time to learn his game and his discipline of what he needs. Because when you go on watch Matt, it doesn't matter singles, handicap, or doubles. He has that perfect routine. I mean, it's beyond, I'd say, any other trap shooter that I know. He has his routine, but how he gets focused it's amazing to watch. But I mean, me personally, I'm more like my dad, where I can turn it on instantly, and I'm ready to go, focused. And like Matt said, he has to take a little bit more time to get ready and get in the zone. But we each have our own ways of, just like you have your own way of mentally preparing, and we all just have to figure that out of what you have to do personally to be able to go out and perform your best every single time.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, for Foster, it's more natural. You know, it's more like I'm looking at the target, it's happening. And for Matt, it's a layered of, this is my process every single time. And I built this game this way. And if I'm doing it this way, I have success. And it's a method versus a instinct and a reaction. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Yeah, when Foster says, you know, I have this routine, and I listen to the same songs before I go out and shoot every time. I watch targets for half an hour or so. You know, and it's just what I found. That's what it takes for me to be able to, like Foster said, flip the switch on, to go from, you know, walking around mode to trap shooting mode, to find that focus. And, you know, I wish I had the ability to just, you know, flip it on like that, like Foster does. Because, you know, he's back there, he's chatting with people, you know, while I'm over there by myself, you know, just like looking at targets. And, you know, people look at me and they're like, man, like, he's so in the zone. And I'm just like, this is what I have to do, you know, but that's what it takes for me. And, you know, going through that every time is what I have to do. So,
everybody's makeup's different. I'm like Foster. I go from selling guns, being in Krieghoff, being a white flyer, to people calling. They're like, hey, we got a poster up. I'm like, I'll be right there. And I run down and I jump out and I get my glasses on. I'm like, okay, let's go. And I go out and shoot. And we've shot together. You know, Matt, we shot actually in 2013. And, you know, I come off losing the all around to Lauren at the Grand and missing the last one. And she won. Great. I was happy for her, you know, pissed at myself. But then going to Vernal, and we shot all week together. Foster, I think you were hunting, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, turkey hunting or snow hunting.
Yeah, you couldn't come because it was just your dad and Matt, and he shot with me and Bill and Petey, and that was a chore, you know. And I remember the whole time shooting, and I had a great, you know, shoot start to finish, but Matt struggled on handicap. He was struggling. And I remember the one day your dad saying to Bill, he's like, yeah, I wish he'd get his handicap gun out. And Bill looked at me, and that night we were having a drink, and he goes, Bud Bartholow said to me, I wish Matt would get his handicap gun out today. We were shooting handicap. And I go, well, I know they have a few guns with them, but I go, okay. And so then on Sunday's handicap, we go out, and Matt and I were straightening all around. And I never forget, you missed on the first trap. I always remember that. And he missed one, and our whole squad ran the middle 50. And then we got to the last trap, and I was still straight. And Petey shot the trap house a couple times. He's having trigger issues, throwing around in circles. And Bill's over there like, oh my God. And I remember we got done. I broke the 400. Matt broke 399. And Matt goes, well, I'm glad I brought my handicap gun out today. And Bill goes, yeah, nothing like waiting till the last day.
Right.
And we laughed, but, you know, and the best part of that whole shoot, I mean, we had a great time shooting together. I mean, we won. Well, I won the handicap and the all around overall, and you won the singles doubles, didn't you?
I think so.
I think because I remember you shot like 300 in the shoot off against Stu Welton. But
for doubles. Yep.
Yeah. The best part of this whole story is, for our listeners, is Matt's a very just laid back, easygoing guy. He'll talk to anybody, just like Foster will, just like I do, Zach. We're just chatting there, and here comes Stu, and he broke 398 in the all around. and I broke the 400. Matt broke 399. He goes, Jesus, I broke 398 in the all around. I don't even get a sniff at anything. And Matt just nonchalantly goes, I guess you should have shot better. I about fell over. I was like, damn, good shot. And then he goes, okay, well, let's go shoot doubles.
Right.
And I just started laughing. And I'll never forget that whole ride home. I drove home that night and it chuckled me the whole time. I was like, here's a guy that just easy key, just nice. But Stu is known to jab a little bit, you know. And when he did that and just straight face, and Sean Hawley, I never forget. Sean was like, yeah,
that's hilarious. Right? I appreciate that you did that, Matt. That makes me giggle
right
eternally. I'll never forget that now. So
well man, like me and Ricky were shooting together all week, and every championship event, like you said, we were straight going into it. I end up with a 399. I take runner up with the 399, and people are just coming up and they're like, you're gonna win the 400. And I was like, no, I'm not. This guy right here beat me right next to me. So all day I'm dealing with that. And then Stu came up and he was like, well, I'm going to get third. And I was like, man, I've been hearing about it all day too.
How do you feel bad for a guy when he breaks 398, you break 399 and you get beat?
Right.
It's like, and I'll never forget this. The first time I broke 100 from the 27, I lost the dang shoot off. And somebody came up to me and they're like, how do you break 100 from the 27 and lose? And I'm like, it's just how it goes sometimes. You got to do better. But that was the perfect response.
Right? It was epic, Zach. You had to be there. And I mean, it was such a great time. We had a great squad, a 4-man squad. And every time we got up to the shoot, there was no screwing around. Just boom, 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 boom. And we just moved along.
Yep.
So going into the season for you both, do you both have different training regimens that you do going into a season, or are you the same? And share with us, please, what you guys do and how you guys get ready for the year.
So I will probably around, February, right around this time, I'll get my gun back out and start doing gun lifts, anything to get that muscle memory back. Just a bunch of gun lifts every night. And then, we have blizzards here until probably April. So, once I can get out as early as I can and start, getting any amount of practice in, I'll get out there. My training regimen's a little different than Foster's. I'll go out, 4 times a week and shoot a box at a time and then go home. And that's just what I need it's just to keep my mental game strong and not overdo it, not get stuck in a rut because I'm trying to shoot too much. If there's an issue, I'll try and correct it. But as long as everything's mentally good, 1 box, 2 box, whatever I have to do, that's what I do.
So going into that, you said box or 2 box. Are you saying box of handicap, box of signals, or just 1 box and you're done? And in that training, are you trying to do it the same every time? Or are you trying new things like different hold points, different look points? What's your belief on that?
So it's kind of a curse, but I do everything exactly the same every single time. I'm not really experimenting with new hold points or anything like that. What I do is what we call at our clinics. We call it perfect practice. We go out there and you shoot as many as you want to, but perfectly, mentally focused for every single shot, not going out there to shoot a quantitative amount, but a qualitative amount. So you go until you feel good is, how I look at it. Once I feel confident up there, I'm done. I'll go out sometimes, I'll shoot 1 or 2 shells, 1 or 2 posts. That's it. And I'm good.
You feel ready. And I watched your video on YouTube the other day about shooting doubles. And I noticed that your gun point was a little bit higher. You were waiting for the target to come to your barrel and you were crushing it and then making a nice clean move over. Is that how you're shooting handicap and singles also? Are you waiting for the target to break plane at a higher area, or are you digging it out from the floor like me and Ricky?
So I shoot all 3 of them very differently from each other. doubles, yeah, I trap that target. I find where it's going to be, just pull the trigger, and then just move to the second one. That just gives me a lot of time in between the first and second shot to make a good move. You know, it causes me to not have my brain panic in between shots, just because there's so much time to get there. Handicap, I start my gun really, really low compared to a lot of people. Like the highest I'll go is like the top of the trap house. Usually I'm down halfway or even like 3/4 of the way towards the bottom of the trap house.
Okay.
And, I'll get my gun, that's my hold point. And then I'll kind of float my eyes above, about where I think I'm going to see the target come out. So, wherever I think I'm about going to see it. So it's probably 3-4 feet above the house is where my eyes are, but I'll just kind of soft focus and try and pick up with my direct vision where that target is. And as soon as my eyes can get there, then my barrel will start chasing it. As far as singles goes, I hold a higher gun. I'm usually 2 feet above the house, and I'm looking, my eyes, I'm actually bringing down below the barrel. And that helps me kind of pick up the target a little quicker.
Sooner.
I'm not having to wait. I'm not having to wait until the target goes over my barrel before I can see it. I'm a 2-eyed shooter, so I'm kind of blessed in that area that I can actually do that. But
Yeah.
like 1-eyed shooters kind of usually have to hold low and look high almost. But I'm holding high and looking low, and that kind of helps me just pick up the target quick and react as fast as I can.
So for Foster, you being a 1-eyed shooter, Foster, do you do it completely different than your brother, or is it very similar?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot different. And my routine for getting going right away in the spring is a lot different from Matt's, because I'm turkey guiding or turkey hunting. And then basically it gets to that point where it's like, okay, I gotta be done with the turkey season and start worrying about trap shooting. So Matt definitely has a good month and a half of extra practice, I would say, before I kick into my shooting routine. So mine's a little bit, I guess, more unorthodox compared to Matt's, where it looks a little bit more scrambled, where it's just like, let's go. I'm going out there. Matt's shooting, a box, typically, maybe 2 boxes a night, where I'm just like, all right, let's get this thing going and start shooting 100, 200 rounds and ready to rock and roll. So it works for me. One thing that I do is I will write down, basically when I get done at the Grand, I'm writing down basically like foot positions, music I'm listening to, hold points, all the different stuff, taking photos. So when I get ready to go out and shoot in the springtime, I'm looking at all these notes, and it puts my mental thought right back in that same position of where I last left it. Yeah. And so it's nice, because then, hold points are exactly the same and ready to rock and roll. And so when I start shooting, it's just more that muscle memory that I'm picking back up. But I have my whole mental and physical routine.
Okay. Do you use, now I know, Matt said that you shoot sporting, ski, whatever. Do you ever shoot any of those disciplines to help you with trap at all? Or do you stick mainly to trap?
I mean, I'll shoot them a little bit here and there, and definitely nothing like you. I just like having fun with those, more or less. And then, honestly, I try to shoot it after the Grand.
Okay.
But I mean, there's times where, go out during the Grand and I'll shoot with like the Winchester guys, or, different people that, have a lot of experience that can teach me stuff on that too.
Yeah.
So, but I would say, I mean, as you know, it's nice because you have so many different positions and angles and everything that gets me more ready for hunting. Where trap shooting, I try to focus more on trap shooting during the summer. Just the more repetition, muscle memory I can build up for trap shooting, the better.
You're shooting the quantity of targets versus Matt that's shooting a little bit less.
Yeah,
what I'm hearing. And I'm kind of like Matt on the side of when I go shoot trap, I go, okay, I'm going to shoot 75 handicap today. That's it.
Yeah.
No matter how I shoot, this is what I want to accomplish. And if I feel like, I didn't. Okay, I might shoot one more box in there. But yeah, most of the time I'll do that. But yeah, I shoot a lot of sporting actually throughout the summer because we have a sporting league and there's some pretty good prize money involved in it. And I'm like, I like me some cash. So,
Heck yeah. One
you know,
question we
go-
get asked a lot too is why we don't shoot league, out at our local club.
Mhm.
And we used to do that, but it just kind of turned into we're shooting different yardages. We're,
Mhm.
not really focused on trap shooting and
Mhm.
building our game versus just going out and having fun. So that's kind of why we got away from that, where we can just go out and practice, focus on doing everything right, getting our routine hammered in.
yeah.
And so,
Now-
yeah, I mean, it's teach their own.
Do you get, as speaking of the leagues, in Lincoln, Nebraska at our gun club, we got 9 traps. We had, God, I think we had like 50 or 60 league teams when I was a kid, and I shot in them. And then as I started to become a better shooter, it got to be where they had little Calcuttas on every other Wednesday. And okay, I'm on the 27-yard line. Okay, I'd win the first couple. And then, third night, everybody gets 3 yards off. And it's like, okay, cool. I'm on they're like, no, not you. And so it got to be where it was almost people were like, why are you shooting leagues? Why are you taking our, I'm like, because I want to shoot. I mean,
Mhm.
you want the trophy? Fine. I just want to shoot, and did you guys run into anything like that at all?
A little bit. Our club made it a rule that you can win one trophy. At least that's how it used to be when we were growing up at that point. They made it a rule that you could only win one trophy per shoot just because, honestly, Foster and I would go in there. Mostly Foster at that point, but, he'd go in there and he'd win.
Clean sweep.
Yeah, he'd win everything. And yeah, like I get that's frustrating for,
Mhm.
all the other shooters. So, I mean, we stuck with that. That's fine. Like,
Yep.
we're not greedy. We're not trying to take everyone's trophies, but yeah, we dealt with a little bit of that, but it's,
Well, you want to win. That's the thing. When you guys were growing up, when your dad being a professional athlete, you didn't come from, hey, just go out there and give it a little try. You were, and that's how I was raised, is like, you're going to put 100% into it. You're out there to win and no prisoners. And that's, and that's why I kind of gravitated over to shooting some of the other disciplines. That's why one year I shot skeet leagues. And everybody's like, why are you shooting skeet leagues? I said, because they said a trap shooter can't win. And I won the 12 gauge average that year.
there you
And they
go.
were, and my team was the only one clapping for me up there. And I'm like, it was just, I was like, I just want to shoot a clay target.
Mhm.
Right.
I don't
Absolutely.
care what. Yeah. And that's kind of what I guess I've gravitated to over the last 10 or so years, is going to sporting shoots, skeet shoots, and just explaining. Because Zach will tell you, we were in Dubai and people were like, oh, trap shooters, and then I'd break a target and they were like, is he really just a trap shooter? And it was, but that we're just trying to like, hey, let's just enjoy shooting sports. It don't matter what, if you're an international skeet shooter, trap shooter, American trap, skeet sport, whatever. Let's just enjoy the shooting sports. But, and that, leads me to another question. I think after the Grand, I think you guys ought to come down and shoot the National Sporting Clays Championships one of these years.
I was
Good.
going to last year. I honestly was looking into it. I drew my elk tag last year after 23 years of applying in the Black Hills of South Dakota. So that put the damper on that one. And so I had,
Hey, if you guys do end up coming, we can put together a heck of a trap squad.
There we go.
That's how we started that deal years ago. Me and Bobby Chambers and Josh Taylor and from White Flyer and Joey Hill from Easy Go. We were like, we're a bunch of trap shooters. Let's grab. And I've done it for, like, this past year was my 11th year, but only 10th main event, because the one year I had to leave, I had clinics going on. But it's basically just a big golf cart, side by side rally.
Yeah.
There won't be a
2,000
fairway
people.
going away target that'll live that week if we get 4 of us out there.
no kidding.
So I know you mentioned earlier, a little bit of the trophies, and that brings me to a question. Don't you guys do something in regards to engravings or trophies? Don't you have a business related to that? And if you could share us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I actually do like gun, trophy, any sort of metal engraving. I did one last year for Browning, and they raffled it off at the Grand there. But yeah, I do, pistols, shotguns,
So
anything.
all
So,
custom hand engraved stuff. And I've seen
yep,
your work. I mean, it's
yep,
beautiful. It's very detail oriented, and
yep.
you can pretty much take anything and make it look beautiful.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's all hand engraved, like you said. The one I did for Browning had like 30 hours of engraving into it, but yeah, it takes a long time. It's, yeah,
Very
it gets
meticulous work that
boring.
he
Yeah,
does.
meticulous is the right word.
Yeah, I don't think I
Yeah,
have to
it's
go into-
meticulous work.
I wouldn't even be able to do those little coloring books where you stand between the lines. Like that's
Right.
not for me. So
Yeah,
you've got a much more steady hand than the Italian for sure.
right.
I'll second that one too.
So earlier, I mean, I didn't want to let this go by, but you said it, and I didn't catch on it. You said you have a handicap gun. I know you guys are known as the Browning brothers. I mean, you guys pretty much hit everything with a Browning more than anyone I've ever met. How many guns do you guys use, and what are the configurations, if you want to share with the listeners, as far as what's your equipment, how are you using it, choke tubes, just as much as you want to elaborate on that.
Yeah. So, with the reason I had, so back to the Vernal story. So at that point, I was shooting this long run for singles. I ended up getting like 1,840 in a row without missing.
Not bad.
So big
So,
deal.
right. So I had this bright idea. I was like, oh my God, like this gun is working so well for singles. I'm going to use it for handicap. So I was like, okay. So I started using it for handicap, and I mean, Ricky was there. Didn't work.
I was
So,
like, he just broke 100 in singles,
right.
you know.
And I'm
Well,
shooting what,
11
like
yards.
89s and stuff. Yeah. Didn't work out. So yeah, cracked my handicap gun back out for the last one. But yeah, I use a different gun for each discipline. They're all set up very differently. My handicap gun is longer. It's a unsingle, gives me a lot more room to, see where the target is. The singles, it's kind of medium. It's pretty much straight out of the box. There's no recoil reducer or anything. But it's the top single, so the rib is a lot lower, so I can it feels like I can get to that target a little quicker, just because there's a lot less guesswork with a low rib, it feels like.
Mhm.
And then my doubles gun, I've been shooting that one for, I think, since the year I won my first doubles ring.
So
And
11.
it's set up like my gun before that one, even when I was like 14. It's short on me. It's a 30-inch barrel. Like I carry this thing around and it looks like a pop gun in my hands. So
You'd swear to God that he stole it from a kid or something.
right. And I mean, like the way I have to hold it, like my head rolls over and everything, but I'm not going to try and fix it because it's not broken. So,
Yep.
but like, it helps me having, a different setup between each discipline, just because I don't have to try and worry about taking spacers out or lengthening my gun or anything like that. I can just pick up my other gun and go.
Now, what shells do you shoot then, Matt?
We shoot Winchester AA's.
Yeah.
Yep,
Do
and
you
I'm-
shoot, the different shoot lights for singles? What's your configuration for every discipline?
I do heavy 8s for singles,
Okay.
super handicap 7.5s for the handicap. And then I'm doing a light 8 for the first shot in doubles and a heavy 8 for the second shot, just to
Okay.
kind of help mitigate the recoil on that first shot. And I'm shooting it fast enough where the speed almost doesn't matter at that point.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
Now, Foster, what about you with your guns and your ammo?
So I'm basically set up very similar to Matt. I have a top single Satori XT for singles. Kind of same thing. It's the one that I won the 2008 championship with. Like Matt said, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And that's just kind of been like, I've tried a couple other ones and I've always just levitated back to that gun because it just feels right. And it just flat out works. Like people have told me, well, the barrel is probably getting close to being worn out. And it's like, well, I'm still shooting hundreds with it. So let's keep rock and rolling. And then for handicap, I have unsingle XT. Kind of like what Matt said, just it's nice not having to go back and put more shims in it or try to go in between shoots and worry if I put, this spacer in or whatever it might be. Because I know a lot of trap shooters that do that. And then that's always the number one excuse if they don't shoot good. It's like, oh, I forgot to put this in or that in. And
Yeah.
and then for doubles, I'm still rocking the Satori Plus, which I think is Matt, you won the doubles championship with that one, right?
Yeah, I won my first doubles championship with that gun, and then I immediately gave it to you for some reason.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, maybe I can win doubles with it, and definitely didn't happen. But but kind of like what Matt said, it's Ricky. It's just one of those things that it fits well. The rib height works really good for me because I tried the 725s, I tried the XTs, and that gun, I shoot them differently. Like obviously one-eyed shooter, but I shoot all the right targets first. For whatever reason, that gun just flat out works for me, and it just everything lines up. So I keep going with that one. Shoot it very well, but obviously not as good as Matt. So, but no, I mean, it's just, you got to find a gun that fits you, right? And we all have our own gun sponsors, and you could talk days on days of what gun everyone else should use. But at the end of the day, you have to go out and find that one that fits you and that you have confidence with.
Absolutely. Now, what about your ammo that you shoot?
So I'm the same exact as Matt. I did switch to the diamond grade, Winchester diamond grade shells. Basically they're 7.5s, very similar to the super handicaps, but there is a little bit less recoil with them.
Okay.
It's just, you don't know.
They have a little higher antimony shot also, right? Is that the hardness?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. So it's a little bit harder shot. Very similar to the AA specs, super handicap AA specs. But they do have a little bit less felt recoil, which is nice. The only tough part is availability right now. And I think you see that from every shell manufacturer.
100%.
So, I mean, if we have those, I'll definitely be using them. But if not, then I'll revert back to the super handicaps.
Yeah. Okay. So on that note, what is your guys' shooting schedule looking like for 2023?
So mine, kind of hard to say right now. Looking at maybe Minnesota state shoot, South Dakota state shoot, maybe for Iowa State, maybe for Central Zone, and then Grand.
Okay.
I mean, yeah. I had my kid almost 5 years ago now, and it kind of slowed down a little bit. It's slowly coming back, but yeah, it's awesome, but it definitely made the trap shooting slow down a little bit.
Wait till they start shooting.
Right.
Then the pocketbook slows down a little bit.
Right. He's already asking to come out and shoot with me. It's the best. I
Oh
love
yeah. Yeah. Now, Foster, what about you? What's your schedule going to look like?
Very similar to Matt's, minus my whole schedule for the summer is really unknown. Taylor is expecting, so
congratulations.
Yeah. So we're gonna see. It's right now. The expected date is late August. Couldn't have picked a better time. I promise you that. Yeah. So we're just gonna see. I mean, if I can be down there for, we'll just say like the AIM Grand and the beginning of the Grand, and I have to fly home. We're blessed that it happened. Waiting to see, but kind of the whole summer just got turned upside down with the unknown of what's going to happen and what it's going to look like.
Yeah, it happens, kids. I mean, my son was born July 31st, Tyler, who's 15 now and shoots. And yeah, I remember he was born.
He shoots better than you, right?
That's right. Hey, whatever. It's so funny. Iowa State shoot this year, he broke 100 the one day and I broke 99, and I knew it was coming. Got back to the scorer's chair. And he did the old up and down, and I went, yeah. And he goes, finally beat you. And I said, nice job. And he did. He shot well. I mean, it was windy, and he goes, coming for you in doubles. I said, good luck. Good luck. So, but yeah, it's a blessing, when you have kids, and I know you got, both of you have, figure out how to make it all work out with the kids and going to shoots. I know I have. And I had even Trey when he was younger, and he's 22, with me sitting on the golf cart, and Jody's like, this ain't going to work. He's not going to, I don't know how that's going to work, and it worked. And then Tyler, same deal. She's like, I don't think this is a good idea, him going to this shoot with you. And I got done shooting that day, and I called her, and she goes, well, how'd it go? And I go, I missed one. And she's like, oh, in the singles? I go, no, in the handicap. She goes, what? And I go, yeah, I broke 99. And I go, and she goes, well, what was Tyler doing? And I said, sitting on the golf cart playing on a phone I gave him. She's like, oh, my Lord. So you'll figure it out. But it is a blessing. And, it's, if you got to be there with mama, you got to be there with mama.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, it just feels like yesterday that we were, 15, 16, or just growing up in SCTP, coming up on it, and crazy how quick time flies by looking up at all the greats, all the great trap shooters. And like you said earlier, I mean, it's so cool because now we're in a position that we're blessed to be able to influence a lot of kids. And just like you said earlier, like, you look at it in that perspective of, I was that kid at one point, looking up to all these great people, and we've been blessed that so many of them were so nice to us, and gave us that time of day and would talk to us and gave us their phone numbers, and we could talk to them. And it really influenced and changed our lives too. And so we look at it that same way, like, man, how can we influence these kids' lives going forward and help them too?
Yeah, no. And that's the greatest thing about shooting is it's the people. It's great to win. We're fortunate all four of us sitting here have won more than our fair share in shooting, and looking back at it. And I got a phone call yesterday from a guy that was looking to, a longtime shooter in Nebraska. The father had passed away and won a lot of stuff back in the day, and has all these trophies and don't know what to do with them. Well, a lot of them are all actually real silver trophies. And I said, well, I can find someone that could probably, those would be of some value, And he's like, I don't know. I got some out, but I don't know what to do with them. You can only display so much, And I said, well, you could donate them. And he's, yeah, I might do that. And if it helps out some youth programs, and that's the nice thing is, looking when I was a kid, there wasn't a lot of youth. There was a few of us, but now it's gotten so big. And I think with these organizations, I mean, they could probably do a little better job on getting people. And I know the ATA does with us especially AIM. You guys do one, I do, Harlan, Sherry the Gate does one also. And it, if it just influences one or two kids, I know last year I had a kid that standing there all wrong, and I just changed the little stance. The kid broke 100 straight like 2 days later. And I mean, he was like, oh my God. I said, well, you're the one that did it. There was one little tweak there, and, that's what gets me going. I mean, I love to see people, win, especially like Zach. I mean, Zach's a past student of mine. I remember when he won the doubles at the Southwest Grand, he's like, Tyler started talking smack. I was like, oh, okay, here we go.
No, I was being paid. But
No.
Going back to helping, the youth, Foster and Matt, what would a message that you would give to our youth listeners? What should they be focused on as a young age to really get themselves to improve their game or get to the level that you guys have been blessed with?
I'd say, if you love the sport, practice. It is, especially starting out, those first 5-6 years, the more time you can spend behind the gun, even if it, go out and practice when you can, do gun lifts if you can't go out and practice, if it's too cold or hailing or whatever, just put the time in to do, whatever you can to go out and practice and, have that mental drive for every single shot, every single time you go out there.
How about you, Foster?
Yeah.
What would you say?
There's so much, like, just, you have so many other distractions nowadays too. It's, trying to narrow it down to one thing. I would just like kind of what Matt said, just take the time, practice, watch some of these YouTube clips, watch these podcasts, gain as much information as you can to create your own recipe. Because I think a lot of kids, they get so focused on like Matt shoots it this way, or Foster shoots it this way, or Ricky shoots it this way, that they try to look exactly and do exactly as what you would do. If you look at how Matt shoots and how I shoot, like I've tried to have Matt shoot, and look at, you have the number one double shooter in the world trying to shoot like I do, and you'd swear to God, like
He's like my first time ever picking up
brand
a gun.
new, yeah. And vice versa, right? Like, I mean, just the way I shoot compared to the way Matt shoots is completely 180. And so, I mean, you got to look at that. But if you're a kid going out trying to learn your recipe, is what we call it, your way of shooting, you just got to try different stuff, and look at all these different podcasts, try different things, build it up. And I know I sound old with this one, but I take a lot of notes. So, I mean, take down the notes of what works for you, because if you don't do that, honestly, you forget about it. And that's my number one thing, that if I could go back, I'd be taking notes of what I did in 2008. I'd be taking notes of what I did in 2006 and looking at that, because it's really cool if, 10, 15 years down the road, you could look back on this stuff and go, holy cow, like I used to do it this way, or this was my mental process, or just something to remind you of the good old days. Like way back in the day, like this is how I did it. It'd be something really cool. So if you're a kid watching this podcast, start taking notes and really get your routine dialed in. And that's the best advice I have.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I like goals. I'm a goals guy. I try to tell everybody, write down goals. I mean, that's how I grew up, shooting at the training center. You had your little, notebook there, and keep your journal and stuff. And there was always a big deal on goals. And I'm a person of, self-satisfaction, as all humans are. If you set a goal and you achieve it, but that's what I always try to tell a lot of the kids is set a goal, a small goal. Break 5 straight. I've got kids that are like, I've never broke a 5. I'm like, well, then set a goal of 5.
there,
and then they do it and they smile.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's really good advice, Foster and Matt. I know we have a lot of youth to listen to. We have a lot of adults. I get people all the time that'll text me. They're like, man, that was a good podcast. You guys asked some good questions. And well, we're all human. We all, and go back to you saying your recipe, that's how I teach is, you gotta, if you want to shoot, like I tell people this all the time, I'm 6'2", 350. Like, you better go eat some Big Macs. I shoot a 16-inch length of pole, and I shoot 30-inch over and under barrels. And people are like, why don't you shoot 32s? Because I like 30s.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, I'll buy a set. I'm like, no. And then they'll go buy a set. And my good buddy Justin Debris, he's like, I'm buying a set of 30s. He bought those, and Zach, I don't know if you remember, he took them out and shot them, and he's like, I can't hit water if I fill up a boat.
Yeah, he was better off with 32s.
Exactly.
Well,
so that's, that's the thing. And that's where I think by you guys really implementing that with find your own recipe, that's a great way to teach anybody.
Huge tip. And I think that's valuable. And I think, pulling it back to what you said earlier, because you've said notes twice now, you said, I like to go back to the mindset that I was in from last season, right? And I think in any of these Midwestern states where we're dealing with 4, 5, 6, 7 months off the gun, if you can write down where you were when you put it away, you're hot, and pick that back up again, that is huge. And I think I used to not do that. And now, because I was in California, I was shooting 12 months out of the year. So I didn't have to worry about ever putting it down. But since I've moved here, just at the Grand or wherever, as I'm finishing up the season, I'm like, okay, where are we at? What's happening? What's working? And then come April or May, you bring it out again and you're there again. You can kind of zoom back a few months. And I feel like if you're not writing that down, you're missing that. And a lot of people don't want to do the book work or the mental work that it takes to really consistently stay at that level. But it sounds like both of you have that in common.
Now, Matt, do you take down notes?
I do 0 notes.
Okay.
I'm
So, I mean,
I'm a classic overthinker for everything. And when I'm out there, if I'm writing too much down, it's gonna set itself too much in my head. But I'd say for 99% of the people, taking notes is absolutely it's going to benefit
But
99% of these
from
people.
what you've said, Matt, it's almost like you're taking notes by the way you shoot, because you're very, very laid out and specific, the same every time. So nothing changes. Where
Yeah,
I would say I'm more related to your shooting style, where everything has to have a process. And because of that, it's, the same every time, where, Foster and Rick, really natural. They just pick it up and they run with it. So I would say you're not writing it down, but it's never changing. So if we walk through it, it's probably this, and this every time. Would you agree?
Yeah, mine stays the same every single time. Year to year, I'm exactly the same place. And, my routine, my warm up every time I go out, it just kind of puts me in that zone, like puts me in the place that I was before, just kind of mentally reminds me why I'm there, what I'm doing. And since it's the, same songs every single time, since it's, the same thing, it's, the same reminder year after year. And it just happens to work for me.
So, Matt, on that note, what songs do you listen to?
So before I go out shooting, I'm listening to kind of, peaceful, quiet songs, and then, jazz, whatever. And then as soon as it's time to go out and shoot, it's the heaviest, fastest metal you can find.
Getting it on.
So, right? Yeah. So it's like the preparation, and then it's go time. So, get the breathing right and everything. Once that's done, get the heavy metal going, because that's the kind of music that I love. And I'll focus on the music, and overthinking will kind of just take a back seat. Yeah. So as long as I'm focusing on the loud, heavy, fast, screamy music going on in my ears, I'm not going to be thinking too much about, what about this angle or this hold point or whatever. It's just kind of,
you're blocking
it's my way of forcing myself to just shoot naturally. Otherwise it all falls apart pretty quick.
Now, Foster, what about you?
So I've done a little bit of everything. Like back in the day, I didn't listen to music. I was totally against it. And it was just like, because internally I could flip that switch, and this part was just ready to rock and roll. And like, I could focus so much. Yeah, I was completely focused on the target. And it's changed a little bit over the years. So now I listen to more music. It's not Britney Spears, like Matt always says. But
Dolly Parton is okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I listen to music, and kind of the same thing. I mean, it varies from day to day, but for the most part, more rock, metal, Five Finger Death Punch, Breaking Benjamin, Bench Sevenfold, all the classics, all the good ones.
Bangers.
But yeah. But one thing I do is I focus a lot on my breathing style and technique. Like with what Matt said, he has his routine. When I'm out on the line shooting, I have a very specific routine of like my breathing and how that goes, like in between the shots, and like when I'm pulling up the shot and shooting. That part by itself, I think, blocks out a lot of the mental of what could happen or getting cluttered. And so again, you got to find what works for you.
100%.
No, absolutely.
Well,
Yeah,
I think
we get a lot of
could
people
go all day talking with you guys, because normally we have one episode with one great shooter, obviously one episode with two. So we're just going to keep going and going. I think we need to have you guys on for another episode at some point in time. But before we get out of here, is there anyone that you guys would like to thank, or is there anything that you guys would like to say in closing?
We'd like to thank our sponsors, Browning, Winchester, Dual, Guns Unlimited, Onyx, White Flyer. We've been with L&M shooting lenses for quite some time. All these things kind of, all the support from all these different companies and people that we've had over the years, that's all added up to a huge success for us. So, thank you to all these people, our parents, our dad, who is, the world's best mental coach. And like, I will fight anyone who says there's a better mental coach than him, because he has coached us to like perfection for a long time. And it's been really great being able to have that in our lives. And, as far as it goes, thanks from me to Foster for always being there to have someone to compete against, even at the local level. So
Yeah, I'm glad to cook steaks for you now that you beat me all the time and I don't have to shoot off. So, but no, thank you guys so much for having us on the show. It's been a lot of fun. Hopefully the listeners have got a few tips from us. If there's anything ever that anyone wants to go over, we have our website, trapshootingbros.com. We have blogs, photos, a lot of information on there, and you can always reach out to us there too if you have any specific questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll get your info and we'll get it put up when this goes live, so anybody can, reach out to you guys, any questions, clinics, whatever it might be.
Is that the best way to get a hold of your website?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. We'll
Yep.
make sure to post the link so that everyone has that available to them. And I know you guys do clinics, so I would recommend going and checking these guys out, because obviously they've got a wealth of knowledge. They've got rings. I mean, they're doing it differently than a lot of people are, and they're having huge success. And you've got one eye and you've got two eye in the same clinic. That's very, very rare. And I think that's just a huge value for people looking to step their game up. So we would like to thank our show sponsors, Remington, also Wenig Stockworks, Shot Tracker, and our favorite RM shooting clinics, Ricky Morrison Jr. I mean, go take a lesson, because he knows more than I do, and more people out there. Maybe not Matt and Foster as a team, but on one person, he's pretty good. I mean, so we appreciate you guys coming out and spending this time with us and sharing this information with our listeners. And we look forward to hearing from you again. So have a fabulous season. Good luck on the family. And thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Hey, thanks you as well.
Thanks, you guys.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Have a good day.
You too.